Hi, I'm Sean Carruthers, and welcome to How Do I on Butterscotch.com. In this series, we're asking the question, how do I shoot better video? This episode specifically, we're going to talk about technique. Now, no matter what camera you're shooting on, there are a few techniques that you can use to make sure that you have the video that you need to make a good quality final product. And one of the key things is always shoot more than you think you need. Now, one of the mistakes that a lot of people make when they're just starting out is to press record and immediately jump into the action. So pressing record and then immediately starting to move the camera. One of the things you want to do is give yourself handles or a little bit of space on either side of the shot that you want to make sure that you have room to transition into it. So when you're editing in the end, you may transition slowly from one scene into another. And if you just basically press record and start going, you don't give yourself any room to transition into that. So give yourself a bit of space. Press record, wait a little bit, and then start the action that you want. If you're planning to shoot something that's going to happen, press record before you think the start of the item is going to happen if you're going to have some action. So don't just press it at the last second and hope you're going to get the good shot. You could get some usable footage, but you won't have any ability to edit it properly after the fact. The other thing that's really important is to shoot retakes, even if you don't think you need them. Sometimes you may be doing a shot and think that it's perfect, but then realize after the fact that something is just not right about it. So shooting the same thing from a couple of different angles, or just doing a couple of different versions of the same thing just to make sure you have a backup tape is always a really good option, just to make sure that you have something to fall back on in case it doesn't work out as initially planned. Now, it's also a good idea to shoot a lot of what we call B-roll. Now, B-roll is footage of other things in the area that's related that you can actually cut to if you need to cover up an edit point. Now, when we do these episodes here in the studio, we actually do a number of different takes, and you'll notice that we actually cut to something else, say a close-up of the product, and that'll often cover up a place where we had to stop and then restart with another section. Now, it's always good to have that sort of cover fire to make sure that you have the ability to edit at any point. Now, it's good to have a lot of B-roll in the can for something you can fall back on, just in case, say for example, you're shooting a very long sequence and it all goes really well right up until the end. Then you're not wasting all of the footage that you have beforehand and having to retake everything again. You can actually cut to a bit of B-roll, see something from a different angle, for example, and then cut to another take that has the ending part that worked fine. Now, it's a really good idea not to use digital zoom at all if you can avoid it. Now, when you have a camera that has a lens that moves, that's optical zoom, and you can actually get in closer just using the lens by moving the parts around inside. But when you're using digital zoom, it's all done in software, and what it does is it takes a smaller section of the screen and then blows it up. That degrades the quality of the image, and you want to avoid doing that if at all possible. If you have a camera that has digital zoom on board, you want to go into the menu system and turn it off so that you don't go into it by mistake. If you have an item that you want to zoom in on, don't assume that you can zoom in using your software after the fact, because if your image isn't that high quality to begin with and you use the software during editing to zoom in, it may degrade the image to a point where it actually looks kind of crappy. So if you don't have optical zoom on board the camera, it's always a better idea to pick up the camera and actually move it in towards what you want to see and get the zoom that way, rather than doing after the fact in software and having a degraded image. Now, in this day and age, when a lot of people are shooting videos on their cell phones, it's really important to think about your orientation of your camera before you get started. Now, when you're shooting, you can switch between the two, between takes, but generally once you start, it locks into that position. So if you're shooting landscape and then you turn to portrait to get a better view of it in that mode, it won't actually do that in the final video. You'll actually have it sitting there on its side, which is not ideal. So it's really important to plot this out and make sure, unless you want to achieve that effect of having the image on its side, that you start in the image orientation that you want to end up in. Don't forget to check out the other parts in the series where we show you how to increase the quality of your audio and your video, and show you how to pick out some equipment if you're buying equipment for the first time. Don't forget to check out the show notes for this and the other parts of the series as well at Butterscotch.com.